We're going to be in a chronological survey now for the second and last video of today. But I forgot to mention that the chart, under grammar, I said that I would be showing you a chart today that would help. It's raining out there, and I really don't want to get the chart all wet bringing it down here to the barn. So tomorrow, if the rain stops, I'll show you, and it will help. It'll help to clarify the grammar. But let's go on. This is now the 18th section. The Hebrew literature coming from Exodus, famous stories, the crossing of the Red Sea. Sometimes this is called the parting of the Red Sea. I'll run the story by you pretty much today and maybe say a little bit more. The Pharaoh finally decides, okay, you can go, please go. And the Egyptian give them silver and gold and off they go. Where are they going to go? Well, they're heading to this promised land. Boy, how many people have died over that matter right there, that the Jews feel that modern-day Israel was promised to them. That is the promised land. God promised them that. Well, not every other culture and race accepts the idea of that promise, but the Jews do. That was the promised land, and so Moses is going to lead them there. How are they going to find it? Well, they follow a pillar of fire by night and a column of smoke by day, and God leads them. So here's the whole Hebrew nation is going back home to the promised land, the land of milk and honey, flowing with milk and honey, sometimes it's called. They come to the Red Sea. I don't write it down again because it's already there. They come to the Red Sea and they can't go any further. There's the sea. They have no boats. They're blocked. Meantime, the Pharaoh, once again, his heart has been hardened. He's changed his mind. He decides he wants them back, and he sends his army. The Pharaoh's army goes after him to get him back. I see this as a chase in epic themes. I often will put it. This is the oldest chase scene that I know in famous literature. The chase is on. What are they going to do? They're trapped. Well, Moses lifts up his staff, and there's resentment. There's sort of rebellion among the ranks. They're not sure about his leadership, but he holds up his staff, and with his staff, the reason I put it there, where is it? Moses' staff. There I see a hero's special weapon. You always imagine Moses with his staff. And I think in a way you could go on to a wizard's staff and other instances like that. But we're not, Jews and Christians don't believe that it was the staff that did it, but rather God that did it. But he parted the sea. The Hebrew nation was able to go through it, and the Pharaoh's army in pursuit tried, but then the sea came back and they were drowned. Now Miriam's Song, I put it here. It's not typically known, but Miriam is Moses' sister, and I think this is called a canticle. There are certain in the Bible. There are certain songs. Mary, mother of Jesus, for example, has her song called the Magnificat. Well, Miriam's Song tells about this. And I did tell you that Handel's oratorio, Israel in Egypt, I told you I wasn't sure I recommended it. Well, the finale of the oratorio is basically Miriam's Song, the horse and his rider as he's thrown into the sea, celebrating the escape that the Hebrew people had. Well, that's the crossing of the Red Sea. Well, they wander now, and then we come to the last story from Exodus that I'll deal with, is the Ten Commandments. I'm going quickly here. They wander. Eventually they come to Mount Sinai. Aaron is, there's a very common boy's name. This is Moses' brother. He's down, he doesn't go up on the mountain. Up on the mountain, it's the mountain and also the desert of Sinai. They come to this mountain, and Moses goes up on the mountain. It's got this fiery top, and he's up there for 40. There's that number 40. 40 days and nights is he up on the mountain. That number keeps showing up. He's busy getting the stone tablets. I've got them here. Meanwhile, and here's I'll probably put this in there. Meanwhile, down on the plain. Meanwhile, back at the ranch is what I like to call this, because in so many American black and white Western movies, you jump back and forth, and that expression, meanwhile back at the ranch, occurred when you've got a split storyline. I will put this in your notes later. Well, meanwhile, down on the plain, the people began to worship a golden calf. Now that was a no-no. They were not supposed to worship idols, not the Hebrews. And when Moses gets the stone tablets written on it, the Ten Commandments, and we're told that that was written by the finger of God, that that's not Moses chiseling it out, his idea, but rather God writing it. I like to make a connection between that and actually the Koran, because Muslims believe that the Koran are the words of Allah. They're not Muhammad's words that he decided he would write, but rather Allah's words. Well, I can make a comparison. You know, here in the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the Torah, we're told that those are God's words. And when I teach the class, I like to run through the Ten Commandments. Can you name them all? And now and then I'll have a kid can rattle them right off. But I'm a little careful with that because I want to make sure they understand I'm not trying to be a Sunday school teacher. This is just very, very famous literature. Well, anyway, Moses comes down, sees that they've been worshiping the golden calf. He's angry. He smashes the tablets, and he gives the people a choice: you're with me or you're not. And we're told that those that weren't going to go with him, the earth swallowed them up. And the others, they wandered around for 40 years in the desert until they had all died off, the ones who had done that. They were called the evil generation. And they had to drink bitter waters. You're going to find out about bitter waters. As I understand, that golden calf and all that gold, which was such a problem, it was ground up and made into powder or whatever, and they had to drink it. And that spread it all out. A couple other things about this. Moses himself was not allowed to go into the Promised Land. He'd done something seemingly really small, slightly wrong, so he was not allowed to go. The tablets were put into a box called the Ark of the Covenant, and I'll probably come back to that Ark of the Covenant. I'll come back to the Ark of the Covenant later on. It's very specifically described, this box with two angels on the lid, and they carried it around. And they also carried the 5 scrolls around in this box, which were the work of Moses. These first 5 books of, I'll call it the Bible, are sometimes called the books of Moses, because traditionally Moses is the author, although scholars seem to think that they weren't written by the same person. The style is too different. Anyway, the rest of them, they get to cross the River Jordan and go into the Promised Land, but now their leader is going to have to be Joshua, because Moses is not allowed to go. And associated with Joshua is his horn. Once again, we've got a hero with his special weapon, his horn. And I'll have more to say about that later. Okay, 2 other things to just tell you, I guess. One, in class, I show clips of the movie The Ten Commandments, done in the 1950s, starring Charlton Heston. This huge movie, and that very famous scene of the crossing of the Red Sea, at the cutting edge of special effects in the 1950s. And as I show that, I like to point out that the Pharaoh is riding a chariot, and in his chariot has got spoked wheels. Spoked wheels. This was a huge development in the history of technology. A spoked wheel is so much lighter than a wheel that's built out of boards like this and like this with a ring around it. And it was almost like the difference between a jet engine versus a propeller engine in World War II. In the right terrain, a spoked wheel could be so fast. And I like to point that out as the kids are watching these clips. Okay, I hope to see you tomorrow.